Most peasants began each day before sunrise, driven by necessity rather than choice, as survival depended on relentless labor. Warmth was scarce, fuel was precious, and cold nights often lingered long after morning arrived. Food was repetitive and limited, offering little nourishment yet consuming much of a peasant's daily thoughts. Fields were the center of peasant life, demanding long hours regardless of weather or physical condition. Peasants relied on simple tools, and every task required intense physical effort, slowly wearing down the body. Injuries were common, and rest was rarely an option when crops determined survival.
Labor was shared by all, regardless of age, with little distinction between men's and women's work.
The childhood was brief, as responsibilities began early, and play was a luxury few could afford. Life was structured by the sun. Days were long, leaving little time for personal pursuits or rest.
Physical exhaustion was constant, shaping the slow rhythm of peasant life.
Breaks were short and rare, taken only when absolutely necessary.
Weather held immense power over peasant lives, often determining hunger or survival. Work continued regardless of discomfort, as missed labor meant lost food.
Access to clean water was limited, contributing to frequent illness.
For the medieval peasant, hygiene was often minimal, not by choice, but simply by circumstance.
The meals offered little relief from hunger, serving only to sustain continued labor.
The cycle of work repeated endlessly, season after season.
Clothing was precious, often worn until it could no longer be repaired. Travel was slow and difficult, keeping peasants confined to small worlds.
The manor stood as a constant reminder of authority. For the peasants toiling in the fields below, obligations and taxes were inescapable.
Much of their labor benefited others, leaving little for themselves. Scarcity was a constant fear, especially as seasons changed.
Energy faded long before work ended.
As the sun set, exhaustion truly defined the end of their day. The journey home was often the hardest part. Life in these cramped quarters was harsh. Medieval homes offered little comfort and virtually no privacy once the daylight began to fade. Entire families often slept together for warmth and safety. For these individuals, evenings were brief, solitary moments, shaped more by profound fatigue than by leisure.
Night brought rest, but also fear and uncertainty.
Safety was fragile, and protection was limited.
Warmth and light were rationed carefully.
For the medieval peasant, true rest was a luxury. Even after a grueling day, sleep was often shallow and frequently interrupted.
For the villagers, the setting sun brought a temporary reprieve. Sleep offered a brief night.
For the medieval peasant, sickness was a common adversary, but skilled medical help remained scarce.
In ancient times, treatment relied heavily on tradition rather than proven effectiveness.
For the laborers of the era, work was a necessity. Few could afford to stop, even when illness struck.
For these peasants, aging came early. Their lives were defined by constant strain and relentless labor.
Time here was not measured in years, but in the relentless cycles of labor that shaped the land and the people who worked it.
As the days shortened, winter brought with it heightened anxiety. necessitating careful and meticulous planning for the months ahead.
Relief was brief, as survival concerns never disappeared.
Day after day, the pattern held. The lives of the villagers were an endless repetition of tasks. As the day concludes and the tools are set aside, the rhythm of the workshop ensures that tomorrow will inevitably mirror today.
Moments of stillness were rare, but deeply valued. As another dawn approached, the ancient cycle remained unbroken, and the world unchanging.
And so the cycle begins again. For the peasant farmer, the day offers little variation from the one before it. Hope was quiet and practical, centered on survival.
It was here, in the quiet struggle against the land, that their resilience was forged.
Community offered limited comfort amid hardship.
Silent understanding, born of shared struggle.
This life defined the majority of medieval society.
Progress was measured not in speed, but in steadfastness. It was this enduring rhythm.
Time felt long, measured by effort rather than hours. A brief reprieve from the sun's harsh glare before the labor resumed.
Objects carried the marks of endless labor.
As evening descends, the land settles into a timeless rhythm.
For the villagers, life was an unending rhythm of labor and brief reprieve. The cycle of exhaustion and rest continued unbroken.
As the meager daylight faded, the coming night offered little reprieve, only limited recovery before the toil began anew.
When circumstances demanded they draw closer, they found solace in shared spaces. Necessity, then.
As the last sounds of the day fade, the village embraces a rare comfort: silence.
We reflect now on the lives lived here, quietly, largely unseen, yet foundational to the generations that followed. In the quiet hours before dawn, we reflect on the lives lived within these valleys, so different yet so similar to our own.
As the sun returns to these ancient stones, the enduring rhythm of life continues unbroken.
And so the fields wait once more, a quiet resilience woven into the soil, ready for whatever the season may bring.
For the villagers of the valley, existence was defined by hardship. Every drop of water.
For medieval peasant life, each new day was not a fresh beginning, but a continuation of the same quiet struggle. Exhaustion carried over from day to day, becoming a permanent state rather than a temporary feeling.
Even the land itself added resistance, making every step and movement more demanding. Pain was accepted as normal, rarely spoken of, and never treated.
Repetition shaped this land, but it also forged the resilience of the people who worked it, generation after generation. The peasants watched the sky closely, aware that nature held power over their very survival.
Even small comforts were rationed carefully.
Clothing and shoes often failed long before work did.
Community provided cooperation, though it could not ease hardship. Most peasants rarely traveled far, their world defined by a few familiar paths. Water sources were shared, often contaminated, and unavoidable. As was common in this era, Hygiene practices focused primarily on the demands of work rather than personal comfort.
Heat added another layer of fatigue to already strained bodies.
Meals were functional, meant only to allow work to continue.
In the profound silence of the day, they discovered moments of brief, essential mental rest. Time moved slowly, measured by fatigue rather than clocks. Few peasants in that era reached old age without significant physical decline. The housing shielded them from the elements, but not from hardship. Uncertainty followed every shift in season.
In this unforgiving climate, to stop work, even for the rain, was to fall behind.
The relentless wind and rain were but outward manifestations of a deeper struggle. Discomfort they
Relief was temporary, as challenges quickly replaced one another.
Energy was carefully conserved toward evening.
They carried their tools with reverence, for in this era, these implements were valued more than comfort itself.
The warmth brought brief relief.
In this era, food scarcity truly shaped every decision. It dictated what was grown, how it was prepared.
Shared endurance wasn't spoken, it was lived, found in the quiet moments around a meager table, sustaining them through the darkest days. As darkness settled once more, the villagers found that night brought both the promise of rest and the shadow of anxiety.
Security in this era was fragile, maintained only by simple wood and iron, as the doors closed for the night.
Their sleep was shallow, often interrupted by the cold or the sounds of the longhouse, but it was a necessary reprieve before the next day's toil. As the moonlight washes over these quiet lanes, we are reminded of the countless lives lived out under this same enduring sky.
The passage of the night only meant that tomorrow would inevitably repeat today. As dawn breaks, the unbroken rhythm of peasant existence continues, timeless and enduring.
In those days, facing the vastness of the fields, hope was not an abstract concept. It was practical and
As the sun rises once more over the village, life begins anew. For these people,
for these early farmers, work was more than survival. It was the very thing that defined their identity.
For those who lived within these walls, acceptance was not a choice, but a daily practice shaped by the necessities of their time.
It was this humble, agrarian life that sustained the wider medieval world for centuries.
Their labor was endless, a testament not to great achievement, but to profound endurance.
Theirs was a life of endless toil, broken only by these fleeting moments of rest before the field called them back.
It was through this repetition that memory itself was shaped.
And so the days blended together, the passage of time marked only by the returning shadows.
The rhythms of village life are dictated by the sun. As dusk settles over the valley, the community. In the quiet rhythm of the flames, they found a timeless comfort, a routine passed down through generations. For these families, settling into the evening quiet was a familiar and welcome routine. Silence was simply a part of life.
The approaching nightfall shrouds this quiet village, leaving us to wonder about the lives lived here.
And so, generations have passed beneath this very same sky.
Across centuries, the human need for restorative sleep has remained constant. It is in these quiet hours that the body and mind truly heal.
We begin our journey not in the halls of power, but in the quiet corners where history is truly preserved. waiting for reflection.
Centuries pass, empires fall, yet the dawn remains a constant presence.
And waiting is not passive, it is an act of faith. And in this quiet persistence, the promise.
This quiet struggle sustained medieval society.
The familiar path offers little resistance, but the weight of routine is a burden carried.
Their lives, rarely recorded by history, were defined by the rhythm of the earth and the rising sun. Standing against the wind, these stones show the relentless toll of time. It is a visible record of cumulative hardship.
And so,
as the day concludes, the tools lie still. They represent the effort expended and the rest that has been truly earned.
As the sun rises, the village remains still. The long night's work is done, and the villagers...
For the early settlers, comfort was a simple luxury. It meant the safety of four walls and the life-giving warmth of a glowing fire.
In these quiet moments, we remember the simple strength found in community, in simply being together.
The stone cottage stood as a testament to quiet endurance against the harsh elements of the unsettled night.
The village sleeps now, a silent monument to the forgotten lives who built these homes and tilled.
The mist lifts slowly, revealing secrets long buried. It is here, this daily cycle, this return of the light, defined their very existence.
Medieval peasants endured lives of repetition, labor, and quiet resilience, and that understanding their